That's why they call it fake news. You know, I'm proud of a lot of things. You don't mind if I go off the teleprompter for a second, do you? Better than I thought. Now, we like when we go off the teleprompter, don't you agree? Remember at the beginning, I used to do it without teleprompters. I didn't know what to tell. I said teleprompter, but you have to, because when you go on the teleprompter too long, no matter how good you are, it's called the boring time. Boring. But we've had an incredible time with this country. We have such potential. And you know, we speak so negatively, and it's so horrible to be telling you what happened, but you know what happened, just like all you have to do is watch the newscast, which, by the way, if you look at ABC, CBS, NBC, you look at CNN, you look at MSDNC, which is, I think, the worst of all. I think they're horrible. What they say, they're evil. They're evil. They're really evil. And they're really a wing of the Democrat Party. I mean, they should be paying. Somebody should report that for campaign contributions, because it's so bad. What they say is so nasty, so horrible. You know, you don't want your family to watch it. How about me? I hear I'm going to be indicted. I said, indicted? I never learned about that at the Wharton School. Indicted? You're going to be indicted. How about me? I have to go see my wife. Darling, may I talk to you for a moment? Yes. I'm going to be indicted for no reason whatsoever on Friday. And then that happens. Oh, it's traumatic. You call your daughters, you call your sons, and you say this, and you know, it's a terrible thing. And then I hear a couple of weeks later, I'm going to be indicted for something else, then for something else, then for something else. And now they're saying, don't indict him anymore, because they lost credibility. But how about that? You go 4 times to tell your kids. And even the lawsuits, it's all inspired. All inspired. No, these are sick people. These are people that are actually sick. I mean, and they're just destroying our country. And if we don't take it back, in 24, I really believe we're not going to have a country left. There's not going to be anything left. And you see it less, because, you know, you're here in this great state. And I heard Christie use that term, flyover, but it's flyover, and everybody admires you when they're looking down. They'd like to be here with you, because they know what's happening on the West Coast, and they know what's happening on the East Coast. And it's not pretty. So the people that are smart, they say, there's no more flyover. We're coming right here to South Dakota or other places. I mean, you don't see what's going on other than the news, and the news really covers it up. They don't show the main networks. They don't show what's going on the border. It's peanuts. What they show is nothing compared to the facts. This is an invasion and a destruction of our country, and they don't want to show it because they want that crooked guy to be reelected if he makes it to the starting gate. I don't know if he's going. And, you know, I used to treat him with a modicum of respect, because I have respect for the office of the presidency, and I would never talk the way I talk now. But when they indicted me for nothing, for free speech, I said the election was rigged and stolen, which it was, and everybody knows that. Everybody knows it. Free speech. But I used to say, and, you know, we're political opponents, but he actually did this to an opponent, a political opponent. Nobody would ever think it's possible. It wasn't really possible, even psychologically possible. He did this to an opponent. But when you think about it, I never said bad stuff. Now I say he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's the most corrupt president in the history of our country. And as other foreign leaders say, and as I say, he is grossly incompetent, and he's very dangerous because he has no idea what he's doing. He can't put 2 sentences together, and we're playing with nuclear weapons with other countries, and he has no clue what the hell is going on. So I would never have said that out of respect for the office. Not for him, but for the office. But now that they've weaponized the Department of Justice, now that it's been weaponized, now that the FBI came out with, you saw that with Twitter, they call it Twitter files, and the things they've done are so bad, they're so evil, with all of the different things that have taken place, and with all of the corruption that you're witnessing on a nightly basis. And you don't have to watch. The great thing about the internet, a lot of it's really bad, but you get you get to see what's happening. You really do get to see what's happening. But when you see the kind of things, I feel I'm totally free to speak my mind. And my mind is the same as your mind, because you know what's happening just like I do. But we will, because they won't. Because they don't care about South Dakota, that I can tell you. But we will stand up for South Dakota workers, and we will stand up for South Dakota farmers. Nobody's ever taken care of the farmers like President Trump. As your president, I took on communist China like no administration in history, bringing hundreds of billions of dollars, as you know, pouring into our treasury, hundreds of billions. They didn't like me too much. Actually, I think I got along very well with them, considering what we were doing. But what we were doing was fair. When no other president had ever gotten literally 10 cents. They never had 10 cents. We got hundreds of billions. I gave our farmers, out of the money that we got, $28 billion. That's why I say your state, Iowa. I'm going to Iowa tomorrow. I said somebody, and I don't like to say it too often because I don't believe in doing that, or I knock on wood. I have a lot of wood. This is a real wood. A lot of these things are plastic. This is the real deal. But, you know, I don't like saying things like nobody else could do this, nobody else. But nobody else could have gotten you $28 billion for your farmers. And I said to the people of Iowa, I said to the people of Nebraska, we're represented very well, Charles, I said, we can't possibly lose, because I got the farmers $28 billion from China. Nobody else would even think about it. Nobody else would think about it. And I'll just tell you, you know, a guy who was very disloyal because I got him elected, so I call him Ron DeSanctimonious. He strongly opposed my protection for our farmers. I protected our farmers very simply. And by the way, those farmers got big checks. Any farmers in here got big checks? Yes? Yes. Oh, he's happy. But that goes to the people, that goes to the workers, it goes to everybody. But we had $28 billion. I said, nobody else is going to be able to do that. I said, there's no way I'm going to lose farm states. But very simply, DeSantis sided with the communists in China, and he fought very hard that this not take place. He also opposed Medicare, and he opposed a thing called Social Security. Remember this about a politician. Their first idea is always what they go back to. So now I'm sure he's changed. I don't know. I don't watch him. He's gone so low in the polls, I'm not really watching him. They say, sir, forget about him. He's gone. I say, no, nobody's gone. Nobody's gone until it's over, right? It ain't over till it's over. Yogi, the great Yogi Berra, great philosopher. But DeSanctimonious voted to get Social Security. Think of it. Social Security 3 times. Voted. Hands up, voted. He is a disciple of Paul Ryan, the great Paul Ryan. You know who Paul Ryan is? Was it good? And he wanted to raise, and he will raise if he ever got in here, which I don't think is going to happen, not even in 4 years. But he wanted to raise the minimum age to 70. That's a big deal. He also wanted to hit Medicare and hit it very, very hard. I ended the NAFTA disaster, the worst trade deal ever made in the history of our country, and replaced it with the brand new USMCA, that's Mexico, Canada. They say it's the best trade deal ever made in the history of our country. I actually think, I may be wrong, you know, I made a deal with China, but I don't talk about it because once COVID came in, I said, I'm not even talking about it. But the deal I made with China is $50 billion they buy a year. You know, it started out at 4 or 3. And then we got them up to 15. And then I went into the negotiating room and I said, listen, you're so big, we want 50 billion. And they said, okay, 50 billion. And I said, do you remember the farmers? Remember this? I said, here's what you do. Because the farmers went along with me. You know, it took us a year and a half to get that done because They're not easy to deal with. They're great negotiators. They were ripping off our country. They couldn't believe this was happening because usually you see the way they go now and they bow to the Chinese. They bow. They have no respect. They get no respect whatsoever. But I said, it's going to take a little long to do this. And I'll never forget, 32 farmers came to see me at the White House. Beautiful everything, beautiful room, all set up. And I said, I'm going to get you a lot of subsidy from China. And one of the farmers raised his hand. I'll never forget. This is the only time this happened. Sir, we don't want subsidy. We just want a fair, level playing field. I couldn't believe it. It's the first time that's ever happened. Because everybody else, Christie says, we want the money. We want money. The farmers didn't. They just wanted a level playing field, which they didn't have. And I went to Sonny Perdue, who was the Secretary of Agriculture. I said, Sonny, what damage have they done over the last 3, 4, 5 years to our farmers? And he comes back 2 days later. He said, sir, it's about $28 billion. I said, it's a lot. I said, we're going to get it. And I got the $28 billion, and farmers picked up big, fat, beautiful checks. And I was very happy to do it. And I said, there's no way I lose a farm. How the hell am I going to lose a farm state?